When it comes to Nintendo, they have several memorable franchises that everybody knows and loves. A series that is well known but not really as popular as, say, Donkey Kong or Mario is the Wario Land series. Everybody knows who Wario is. He's literally just the negative Mario is all he is, and he's perceived as a villain, but that's not always the case, especially with his own game series. Wario debuted in Super Mario Land 2 6 Golden Coins, which came out in 1992 only for the original Game Boy. He was the main antagonist in this game, basically just being the Bowser. Nintendo was very fascinated by this character, and they decided, you know what, let's just make our own game series for Wario and call it Wario Land. The Wario Land games are a load of fun. If any of you guys watching have played one, you definitely know what I'm talking about. Where Mario's gameplay is focused mainly on just getting to the end of the level, hopping and bopping on enemies, using your fireballs and stuff, Wario Land is more about exploration and seeing clues, solving puzzles, and just finding treasure in hidden places. The first game was so popular that obviously more games had to come out. The second game in 1998 and the third game in 2000. As you already know by clicking on this video, we're going to talk about the first 3 Wario Land games and honestly why they're so good. They're very good games, as many know, but we need to go in depth to see what really makes these games so fun to play. I've played through these games minus the third one many times, and I decided to give these in the past couple months a full playthrough with a more critical eye on each one. Sit back, relax, let's talk about the Wario Land trilogy for the Game Boy and Game Boy Color. Wario Land, Super Mario Land 3, was released in 1994 for the original Game Boy. It was developed by Nintendo, specifically R&D 1. Nintendo needs no introduction, but R&D 1 is the same team that made all the stellar titles like Metroid, Kid Icarus, Mario of course, a lot of the Game Boy games as well, so they were just kind of the main team back in the day. The biggest thing that sets apart Wario from Mario is a lot of things, but definitely its setting. You're not in the Mushroom Kingdom at all. In this game, you're on Kitchen Island, and what you got going on here is you want to get your castle back, because in the second game, Mario beats you and you lose your castle, so you're on your quest to make your own. Well, there's a bunch of pirate bandits led by Captain Syrup, this chick, and they want to hoard all the treasure and pretty much stop you from accomplishing getting a castle. So you go on a quest through this land on Kitchen Island, taking down bad guys, getting all the treasure. That way you can obtain a golden peach statue, sell it to Mario, and get your own castle. Wario Land is a action platformer, as you already can tell, and the controls are very basic, but he has a lot of functionality. D-pad will move you left and right. You can hold down to duck, to get under stuff. B is your big thing here. It's your shoulder bash, and this is a signature attack. You can use this on enemies, and you can bash at them. Sometimes they'll fly away and die and leave a coin behind for you to collect. Others, you cannot do that with because they have spikes and you'll have to jump on them to flip them over and then do it. A is to jump, and if you hold up while jumping, you do a higher jump, and I did not know that until this playthrough, so nice to know. The goal is simple. Get to the end of the level, then you see this goalpost thing. You have to give it 10 coins, which you'll find coins all the time in this game, and you move on to the next level. It's a very linear game. If you've played the first 2 Super Mario Land games and then you jump to this one, you can definitely see the resemblance in the gameplay style, but it's a little different still. The collectibles in this game you'll come across, of course, you know already, coins, and coins normally give you lives like in Mario, but not in Wario, they don't. They more act like as currency. You use these coins, like I said earlier, use them at the end of the level to leave at those post things, or you can use them sometimes for a checkpoint, and you'll go to a mini game every time you beat the level if you want. You don't have to, and if you do, you'll have to do a gamble with the coins, and it's a 50-50, and I swear my luck is terrible. To get more lives in this game, you actually have hearts. Every time you get a heart, it is 10 points, so 10 hearts gives you an extra life. Your interface is also very simple. Your lives are on the left, your coins are middle left, your hearts are middle right, and time is on the right since you have a time limit. Your health in this game is a lot like Mario, so whenever you're big, you take a hit from that and you'll get small. If you take another hit after that, you die. And you'll go back to the beginning of the level or the last checkpoint. Wario also has his own power-ups in this game. The first one is garlic. This is kind of like a mushroom in this game. You pick that up and he gets big again. The Viking helmet. This is definitely the best one in the game. So what this does is it makes him more powerful. All his attacks do more damage. You can break blocks more. You can even stick to the ceiling if you jump up all the way. And you can do a ground pound and shake the whole level with all the enemies. The second one is a dragon power, and it is kind of like a ranged attack. You breathe fire for a few seconds and you can clear all the enemies that way, and blocks. The last one is the airplane power-up, and whenever you do a shoulder bash, you actually will fly in the air across for a few seconds. This is really good at getting to certain areas you normally can't access without this power. These power-ups are all very unique, and you'll be using them all the time because you find blocks that contain these all the time, and it'll help you get to certain areas to get treasure and coins. Wario's got some other functions too, so as you already know, you don't just jump on enemies like in Mario and they're dead. Whenever you jump on an enemy will flip up upside down. You can walk up to it and Wario can pick it up, and he can use that as a projectile and throw it across the level at other enemies or blocks. Nintendo did a really good job making Wario very distinguished on his own abilities, his functionality, and just how he handles. There's 6 worlds in the entire game. The first world is Rice Beach. Pretty simple world, just kind of shows you the ropes and it's all beach theme. Second world is Mount Teapot. Lots of water in this world. Third world is Stove Canyon. It's kind of like a volcano and definitely kind of ups the difficulty here. You got to make sure you don't hit the lava and don't die. And there's more worlds, I won't spoil them for you, but they're definitely very varied and your typical stuff you see in platformers. The levels definitely get more varied as they go on. There's a lot of swimming, there's climbing, you have to break blocks, so there's definitely a lot of variety in this game. The big appeal with this game though, and the theme with Wario Land, is definitely the treasure. Wario loves gold, and you'll find coins a lot, but the big thing is finding treasure in a lot of levels in this game. You'll explore levels and sometimes you'll see these giant skull key doors, and you have to find a key in the level, and when you do, you can come back and you can open that key door and get the treasure. How much treasure you find will affect what kind of castle you get at the end of the game. Wario Land for the most part is pretty simple, but it does have its challenging sections, and if you do happen to get a game over in this game, you just start the level again from where you were, and even worse, they actually take a treasure you already acquired too. Now that's punishment, so you gotta go back and get whatever treasure they took from you. Some of the best things about Nintendo games is definitely the enemies you encounter. This game has a lot of unique enemies you'll see, and some of these stay in the series as the games go on. They're just quirky and funny looking. The boss fights too are pretty fun. Nothing crazy, they're pretty short-lived, but they still provide a good challenge, but are fun to face. Nintendo definitely wasn't slacking in this department. It's no wonder why Wario Land did so well when it first came out in 1994, because this game is a stellar title for the original Game Boy. It just transitioned well from the Super Mario Land titles, because Wario Land plays completely differently, so he has his own identity, he has just fun levels to play through, all these different quirky enemies with all these abilities like throwing enemies around, using the airplane power or the Viking helmet to smash your way through. Collecting the treasure is very addicting because not only is it cool to just kind of go out of your way to find this stuff, but it also gives you a reward at the end of the game for the more you get. The visuals for this game are stellar. I mean, this is top-notch pixels for the Game Boy right here. I mean, it flows well, there's not really too much slowdown, and it's just awesome and good to look at. The music is also very catchy. Wario has his own little theme, and you'll notice this little theme a lot in all the games. Here's a couple tracks just to listen to so you see what I mean. I have 100% of this game before, but this playthrough I only got a few treasures, and yeah, you can see I got a freaking wood stump at the end, so if you don't get too many treasures, well, you get a crappy home. The game is so fun though, even if you do that, you'll just play through it again, and it's about like a 3 or 4 hour game, and you can do even better on your next playthrough. There's even a fan-made Wario Land DX here, so it's all in color, and you can download this easily, so this is a great way to check the game out if you've never played it before. With this game being a classic on the original Game Boy, Nintendo definitely had some more in store for Wario for years to come. Wario Land 2 came out 4 years later in 1998 for the Game Boy and Game Boy Color. There's two versions, but if you get the Game Boy Color version, that's a black shell, you can actually play this on either system. The controls are pretty much exactly the same as the last game, except this time, now you can actually ground pound naturally, so you don't need the Viking helmet anymore. They have kind of retooled the Wario Land games after the first one. For instance, you can't die. Yeah, you really can't die in this game, but I'll get into that here in a minute. They also removed all of the power-ups from the first game. This one is totally different with how they do power-ups. Since you can't die in this game, how you get your power-ups is actually getting hurt by certain enemies throughout this game. One of the notable power-ups you get in this game that you see a lot is getting set on fire, for instance. You get hit by a fire enemy and you just start running crazy on fire and you can't stop. After a certain amount of seconds, you'll be caught completely on fire, and this can be used to get rid of blocks that are blocking your way that can only be triggered by being on fire. You can also be smashed and turned into Pancake Wario, and whenever you're this small, you move very slow, but whenever you jump, you kind of glide a little bit in the air, and this is definitely how you use this power to get to certain areas that you can't get normally when you're regular Wario. There's bees in this game too, and if they sting you, they'll puff your face up, and all you can do is float to the top until you hit the ceiling. This is used though to get to certain ledges that you can't normally access. So it sounds like a penalty, but this is what they want you to do. You have to get hit a lot in order for these powers to activate in order to progress through the level. There's definitely more powers that you'll come across in this game. That's just kind of scratching the surface what I just went over. The first game definitely focused on getting more to the end of the level where you didn't really have to explore if you didn't want to. In this game, they kind of changed it to where you really need to figure out how to get to where you need to go because you're going to get stuck sometimes, and it kind of feels more like a puzzle platformer instead. Even though you can't die in this game and there's no lives, there are consequences, and I feel like they're actually worse than they are with having lives. When you get hit by a regular enemy that doesn't give you any powers, you'll just kind of fall back a few steps on your ass and you'll just lose some coins. Not many, like 2 or 3. Enemies and bosses too, if you get hit sometimes, what they'll do instead of you dying is you'll get slung back very far away, and they just pretty much make you try an entire section again. That's your penalty. So you don't die, they instead waste your time, which I think is actually worse. It doesn't make the game hard really, but it does make it kind of tricky and a little bit more challenging because you really need to figure out what you're going to do and when you're going to do it to avoid this happening. Coins are everywhere in this game. There's a lot more in this game, I feel like, than the last game. Every time you beat a level, you get to this mini game where you have to guess this number, and the only way to uncover parts of the number is you have to spend coins. And getting coins is very crucial for this if you want all the treasure, because there's a shit ton of treasure in this game. There's no overworld map in this game like the last one, and the game is very linear. There's about 5 worlds in this one, and the levels are very fun. It starts off in your castle from the last game, and then you just go through more Wario-ish levels like the forest here, and you even go to a city world, so it definitely has some variety with what it does with the levels. When you beat the game, you can actually backtrack to old levels if you want to get all the treasure if you want to, so that's very nice if you want to go for 100% completion. Wario Land 2 truly is a good sequel. It makes some different changes that were not in the first game, and it does it for the better in my personal opinion. I actually kind of strayed away from this one for a few years because I heard you can't die, and I was like, oh, come on, that's not no challenge. But no, this game actually is a load of fun and has really good ideas on the level design and just what you do with these weird quirky powers that you get from getting hurt. It's got good puzzle solving in all these levels on how to get through certain things. The visuals definitely get an upgrade, especially because it's Game Boy Color now. The music is also just as good, and yeah, I mean, this game is just a huge upgrade from the last one. This one definitely seems like the shortest one of the 3 games here, but maybe that's just me. There's only 5 worlds in this game, where the first game I think had 6 or so. There's also no overworld map, and I like that in these games, and that kind of was a huge disappointment, but no big deal. I mean, that's not part of the gameplay or anything. Wario Land 2 is a solid game and a must-play on the Game Boy Color. Wario Land 3 came out in the year 2000, this time only as a Game Boy Color exclusive, so it is not backwards compatible with the Game Boy. When you look at this game, it pretty much looks just like the last one, so it's pretty much all unchanged in terms of graphics and just how he handles. It all feels exactly the same. In this one, well, you become mini-size, and you go in this music box in this micro world, and you see this big guardian, and you gotta help him out to get all these little pieces to fix his music box. He says he can keep all the treasure though, so you know how Wario Wario is, he'll do anything for treasure. The biggest change with Wario Land 3 is this is a Metroidvania. You do a ton of backtracking in this game, and there's way more puzzle solving in this game. This is definitely the hardest one of the three, in my opinion. Instead of getting to the end of the level, now you have to search these levels for these keys. There's silver, green, blue, and red keys. There's 4 per level, but you can only access one of the keys. You'll be exploring these levels far and wide to figure out what to do, because even the first level's not messing around. It's not hard or anything, but you definitely need to have your thinking cap on when playing this game. You can only get one key at a time, and then you gotta find the chest for that key, and when you find that chest, you'll get a treasure and you'll get out of the level. Sometimes when you get a treasure, you'll see a little cutscene and it'll trigger an event in the overworld where a new level opens or something happens in a previous level. They completely get rid of your abilities in the beginning of the game. You only can jump, shoulder bash, and duck down. That's it. In the process, you'll get your abilities back throughout the game, like you'll get swimming back, you can ground pound, you can't even pick up enemies in the beginning of the game, so you'll get that throughout mid-game. It's just crazy how you had all these abilities in Wario Land 2, and then you find out in this one, man, I really need this stuff, so you definitely learn to appreciate getting these abilities. Your hazard powers are still in this game from the last. There's a couple of new ones I noticed too, like this netball you can be when getting hit by a caterpillar, or becoming this bat. This is probably my favorite one so far. Coins are still in this game, but they're not at all like the last 2 games, how you found them all the time. They kind of just fall off from breaking blocks, and the only time you use coins really are for the mini games, or I should really just say golf. That's the only mini game in this game, and it's tough, man. It kind of controls like Hot Shots Golf or Mario Golf, but it's very hard, so you have to kind of get used to it after a few tries. Mini games normally are optional, but in this game, the golf game, you do have to complete it when you get to it, because it has an object that has to go away, and when you beat it, that way you can progress to get the key or chest or whatever. Other than treasure and regular coins, there's music coins too, so they added something new to this game, so you can collect those along your way. With the Metroidvania, it's easy to get lost, so if you talk to the Guardian at the beginning of the game, you can always talk to him and he'll tell you where to go next, so that's very helpful. There's a lot of enemy variety in this game, just like the last one. They kind of function similarly to those little guys with spears. This game has its own version, and the bosses are great. They're short and sweet, but they're very challenging, because if you make one false move, they do what they do in the last game, they just throw you off the level, and then you gotta walk around and try again. This game for sure has the best bosses in my opinion. There's a lot of them, and they provide a good challenge, and they're all different. With that being said though, this is the longest game of the 3. This is about a 10-hour game or so, like seriously. There's like over 20 levels in this game, lots of backtracking. You got a lot to do in this game, so definitely set aside some time for this one, unlike the first 2. Playing through each Wario Land game, I definitely got to see what was so cool about each one and what was unique, and a fun time as always. I'm a huge fan of this game series. I've played almost nearly all of them, minus the Virtual Boy game, and the first one was my favorite for a very long time, but once I got to play the second and the third one, I definitely have changed my mind since. The second one is really good. It's a really fun time with all the little wacky powers you get from getting hurt, but I think the third one might be the best one because I like how you don't really have anything when you start, and you gotta get all your abilities back. But there's a lot of boss fights, the levels are really fun to play through, and backtracking to see what you missed, it's just very satisfying and a really fun world to explore. The series would continue even to the Game Boy Advance onward, with the last one being released on the Nintendo Wii in 2008. Unfortunately, since then, we have not gotten another Wario Land game. WarioWare has kind of stolen the show since then, and I would think it's because people definitely prefer micro games, and Wario Land just didn't stick with a lot of people, unfortunately. If you've never played these games from watching this video, you definitely need to check these games out. They are stellar titles and awesome games to play that are made by Nintendo. The third game is available on the Nintendo Switch Online. Unfortunately, the first and second one aren't on there. Maybe someday they'll release one of the two. Hopefully they release all of them. But definitely check these games out any way you can. But if you want to play them physically, they're like 20 to 30 bucks or so loose, so not a bad price for these games. Well, that's all I've got to say about the Wario Land games. It was a lot to go over here, so I know it was a kind of a longer video than normal. I appreciate you guys for sticking around to the end to watch this entire video. It was very fun to make. If you got anything to say, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear what you got and what your opinions are and what you think about the Wario Land games. Until next time, y'all take it easy.